Hello, my name is Shalabieh, and I'll be telling you a story called The Three Seers today.
I hope you enjoy it.
Our story starts with two judges, Abu Hussein and Abu Tahir. They're making their way to the house of the chief judge. He'd been ill for some days and they wanted to check on him. As they walk and walk and walk, they come closer to his house, and just as they pass his house wall, 3 Bedouin men pass them too. They hear the Bedouin men saying, "Oh, the man of this house is going to die." And the second one says, "Yes, in 3 days." The third looks at them both and says, "He will be buried in his house as well." The 3 nod their heads and they pass. Abu Hussein looks at Abu Tahir and he says, "Did you hear that?" "I did," replied Abu Tahir. Abu Hussein looks at him quizzically and they both shrug their shoulders as they walk in. They visit with the chief judge and go back home that day and think nothing more of what the 3 Bedouin men said. But at daybreak, 4 days later, word comes. The chief judge is dead. With amazement, Abu Hussein goes to Abu Tahir and they both remember what the Bedouins said. They look at each other, but how did they know? They went to attend the funeral and the burial, and he was buried in his own house. After the ceremony was done, they both decided to go and find these 3 men and find out how they knew that he was going to die in 3 days and be buried in his own home. And so they start to look for the 3 men. They knew their town well and they knew that there were no Bedouins there, and so they asked, "Are there any Bedouins camped near here?" And they got word that Banu Asad were at the Harb gate. They had been there for a few days. They make their way to Bani Asad's camp and ask, "Are there any of you that can tell the future? Or perhaps read omens?" Everyone they asked said, "Yes, there are 3 brothers who are known to be seers amongst us. They live at the edge of the camp. They are the brothers of Bani Aif." The judges made their way to their tent, and there they were, the 3 men that had passed them when they went to visit the chief judge. They sat with them, and after the coffee was had, they asked, "How did you know that the man of the house you passed 3 days ago was going to die, and die in 3 days, and be buried in his own home?" The brothers smiled and looked at each other, and the first said, "Well, all Bedouins know the croaking of the raven and know what it means. There was a raven sitting on his wall, and it croaked in a particular way that meant there was death coming." The second brother then said, "That raven, it croaked 3 times and fell silent, and then again 3 times and fell silent. And that meant that death was coming in 3 days." The third looked up and said, "I saw the raven dig into the wall with its beak and claws and scatter dust all over itself. And that is how I knew that the person who will die will be buried in his own home." The 2 men left the 3 seers that day after thanking them, and they prayed that they would never hear the ill omen of a croaking raven again. Thank you for listening to my podcast. Today's story, The 3 Seers, is a story that is 1,000 years old. It was documented and written by Abu Ali Al Tanoukhi and was republished in Hiyakat al-Kalam, Weaving Words, an anthology of Al Tanoukhi's stories published by the Library of Arabic Literature, NYU Abu Dhabi. And if you enjoyed this story, please consider supporting my Patreon. My Patreon link can be found in the story description, or you can find it by looking for Shalabieh Al Hakwatieh or Sally Shalabieh. Thank you for listening, and I hope you enjoyed the story.